Hello, hello. How about that X-Men casting? I don't know if anybody's seen that. You may have. Adam Driver. Adam Driver. How are we? Man, that is off. Let me bring that up a little bit. Right. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have to do a news roundup tomorrow. A news roundup of various things. There's like Batman rumors going around, which people... Yeah, is it debunked or is there grains of truth to it? We've got Magneto, apparently. Adam Driver as Magneto is the latest word on the street right now. And this is coming from Apocalyptic Horseman. And it's going around on Twitter. And it's starting to gain traction more and more and more and more. But Adam Driver as Magneto. Kind of mad. Right, who else we got here? Hello, Nathaniel. Hello, Silhouette. V for Vendetta TV show. Dunzo getting reworked. Yeah, it's... I was going to talk about that in tomorrow's video, definitely, as a topic. There's not really too much to say other than HBO passed on it. We don't really know why. I mean... I guess they didn't really see the vision of what Peter Jackson was going for with his version of it, but it could still be retooled, yeah, technically. But maybe they just, like, don't want to make it right now under the way it is. But maybe after the merge or something like that, it could happen. X-Men rumor casting, though. Absolutely, casting rumor. Rumor casting. I think Adam Driver is such a talented actor that, you know, to picture him as Magneto, I think he could easily pull it off. I'm now fascinated to see who his Charles would be, you know? But yeah, Marvel's, the MCU's X-Men is ramping up. It looks like they're really going to kind of go ham at San Diego Comic-Con, but this stuff is getting out already. I think there's some other names getting out there right now. But anyway, how are we doing, everyone? How are we doing? Yes, we need to talk about that. This is the thing. So, for those of you who don't know, on Reddit, there was this post that these moderators allowed because said user showed them some proof. And it was claiming that Scarlett Johansson's role would be Poison Ivy. But then they deleted it because apparently this person who they allowed to post that scoop had been kind of scooping all over the place, like, you know, about, you know, Secret Wars to all kinds of things, to the point of where I didn't necessarily feel like it added up. But from what I've heard, you know, the thing is, Nexus Point News basically had heard about Poison Ivy quite a long while back as well, which is what made this so interesting. So now people are thinking that all while that Reddit post in its entirety isn't necessarily true because they basically posted a few things. So like they posted a bit of a theory that whole thing might be wrong, but like there might be like a couple of grains of truth in it. Like let's just say Poison Ivy, Pamela Isley, Scarlett Johansson was in that role. The Court of Owls are in the movie, kind of thing. I don't know what to think of it. I feel like we're kind of all over the place with this stuff when it comes to the Batman Part 2. I've actually got a whole video going over how I think Poison Ivy could be done in Matt Reeves' universe. And so, yeah, we're gonna get into this more in a news roundup tomorrow. But for now, obviously, I'll bounce back and forth with you guys. I just don't know. Jeff Snyder, as far as I'm aware, when he came out with that Zaz stuff and Brian Tyree Henry, Harvey Dent, he said that Scarlett Johansson and Charles Dance aren't like major comic book character, at least in name. Now, I'm only saying this and referring to the Jeff Snyder thing because if that turns out to be true, then maybe Poison Ivy, she isn't Poison Ivy. Because I've noticed a lot of people are running with Sebastian Stan as Victor Zsasz now. Even though none of that has been proven true. But it is kind of interesting to consider. I don't know. I don't know. Not sure how it works thematically for Deeper Corruption. Apparently, she's Going after some of Gotham's elite and, like, poisoning them or something like that. And Batman thinks it's Zsasz, but no, the real serial killer is Poison Ivy. But again, that larger part of the post on Reddit might not be true, but the Poison Ivy part might be true. I find it interesting that Nexus Point News, a very reliable outlet in my opinion, did hear about Poison Ivy months and months ago, but kind of sat on it a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. It's a tough one. It would make sense, at least, with regards to Scarlett Johansson in terms of her as a star. I'm not trying to put down the character of Gilda Dent, because Gilda can still be quite a big character, but it would be a lot more. And then there's a rumor of a Poison Ivy series coming from Jeff Snyder once again. Now, I know people like to clown on Jeff Snyder, but I will always say he does sometimes get things right. So it's like, well, okay. That kind of harkens back to that Hollywood Reporter article from quite a while ago now. We're talking like a couple of years maybe, where Matt Reeves was meeting with writers and directors to flesh out like these series, not movies, but spin-off series surrounding Professor Pig, Scarecrow. I think Poison Ivy was one of them. Now, I don't really know if this actually links back to all the way back then, but, you know, yeah, it would be an eco-terrorist, Scarlett Johansson, Poison Ivy type vibe. Yeah, absolutely. I could imagine deaths, though, like, as I explore in that video I did, similar to the first couple of episodes of Swamp Thing, where there's, like, this plant that grows from within you, maybe. It kind of dies, but, like, you die, but, like, when you come across the crime scene, there could be, like, you know, some kind of planty thing growing from certain orifices. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not going to get too excited just yet, just because I don't know. I have heard through the grapevine, though, that the Court of Owls very well may be in the movie. That's not me saying, oh, I've heard from our source that they're definitely... It's just like I'm hearing that they are in it, basically. But it's not... like, I'd still take it with a grain of salt. It's not necessarily what I would say is like, oh, I've seen this behind-the-scenes Batman thing for myself. Like with the Batman Part 1, I had like a very solid source. This one's just I've heard through someone else who saw something to do with the Court of Owls. So that's very interesting. So the whole Charles Dance thing is most certainly, in my opinion, Court of Owls. Weatherford says, from Apocalyptic Horseman, he heard about Magneto from multiple sources. Hasn't heard any rumors about Patrick Wilson for Xavier. More castings dropping soon. Yeah, Apocalyptic Horseman did say that he knows more if we're going back to the whole X-Men thing. Jacobus, hello. Good to see you, man. Good to see everyone. Does it look like Bruce dyed his hair slightly? I think... No, I get what you're saying, but I think Robert Pattinson has just simply dyed his hair to Bruce mode, which is like that kind of dark browny kind of look, which I think that's what he's got on the Odyssey press tour, right? He's just got his dyed Bruce hair, I guess. I don't think he's dyed it anymore. Like, as in an actual different color from the first movie. Hello, Kayla. Hello there. Hope you're doing well. I did see Nova. The post about Nova going around. That there's a movie being developed or something like that. Patrick Wilson is 53 to Drive is 42. Is there actually... Let me have a look. Hold on. Yeah, the rumor is Patrick Wilson, Adam Driver courted as Professor X, and Magneto in Marvel. Who actually... Okay, so Apocalyptic Horseman said Adam Driver for Magneto, but the... Who's saying the Patrick Wilson, Charles Xavier? Main middleman. Interesting. We're gonna have to sprinkle a bit of Marvel news in tomorrow's video. I need to try kite surfing. I'll probably, like, get flown off. Or I'd fly off. Why aren't I? Ooh, first super chat of the stream. Thank you so much, Nico. Really appreciate you, dude, for the £2 super chat. Why is that not working?
Thank you.
There we go. How do you think they'll approach Magneto's origin? I think this is one of the bigger questions that I've seen quite a few people talking about this on the timeline already, in terms of what are they going to do with the X-Men in the MCU when it comes to exploring. Is it going to be like the DCU where you've kind of already hit the ground running and you kind of... Well, I don't know. Like, you know how, like, obviously Superman is 3 years in. Carl Chandler, for crying out loud, his Hal Jordan is, like, 15, 20 years in. So with Magneto, with Charles Xavier, with, like, there's a fascinating part to mutants in the MCU where it's like, okay, what is the backstory here post-Secret Wars? And how are they going to blend all of that in? And when it comes into, like, the format of telling an X-Men movie and introducing, like, Adam Driver's Magneto, are they going to just refer to his origin without doing the origin again? Kind of like the new thing these days of comic book movies, where as much as I would love, like, the whole X-Men First Class kind of vibe, we've kind of already been there and done that, right? So I think it could refer to it in really interesting ways. We could get, like, you know, history established and drip-fed to us throughout character interactions and stuff like that. The streets are crowded for the holiday. Some people have been exploring the idea of, like, what if there's a bit of a period piece that they're telling. So Nico here is saying, really hope it isn't a multiverse thing where the X-Men are from the 80s or 90s. Wait, so are you saying, like, the X-Men movie will be set in that time in the MCU moving forward, or we're going back? Yeah, wait, we'll be going back in time telling that story from back? No. I wouldn't want that. I would want, like, present-day MCU X-Men. Or, like, are you saying they got pulled from a 90s, 80s timeline or something like that? Because this is where I really have no idea where to begin brainstorming for how they actually move forward with that. But then you take into account, like, you got Sadie Sink potentially as, like, Jean Grey. So, like, that, you know, that would be in the MCU. It's not like they would complicate things too much. No, there will be no X-Men pre-Avengers. Pulled from an 80s, 90s timeline. But how does this all link to the Sadie Sink thing? Or are we no longer thinking that she's Jean? I kind of understand the theory of it, because I think if you're going to kind of court your audience into a MCU post-Secret Wars, you know, like, this is your next thing you need to work out, there is, like, a backdoor pilot-y kind of vibe to, you know, getting somebody as popular as Sadie Sink and the audience attached to her to move forward into that X-Men period. I think it would be a bit of a shame to, like, yeah, have Sadie Sink be Jean Grey. So, yeah, Begsy's saying Sadie could be from another universe. I don't know if I would like the whole, there's one Jean here, Sadie from one universe. It's like, now we're going into the post-Secret Wars X-Men. There's a whole other Jean Grey. And forget about the Sadie Sink one. I wouldn't like, that's just already way too messy, and I wouldn't like that. I really don't know how they're going to approach all of that. But yes, Adam Driver, like, as Magneto, I'm a really big fan of, because he's just so bloody good. He's so good. I don't know how many of you guys have seen various projects of his, like, outside of Star Wars, but he could lose his shit as Magneto, and I would buy it. I also think the long hair look is really good as well. The long hair Magneto vibes, if you know what I mean. I think Adam Driver can really play a good range of, like, you know, really feeling like he's not the villain, so to speak. He's like in the right, but he's got such conviction and he's like emotionally turbulent with it, and he's so powerful. He's 6 foot freaking like 5 for all I know. He's pretty huge. I just think, yeah, what a Magneto. And remember when he was rumored for like Reed Richards? Like, I think Magneto is a much better fit for Adam Driver than playing Reed. But thank you, by the way, Nico. Really appreciate you, dude. I'll have to think about the origin a bit more and how they could... I think they would probably refer to it, and they're going to pick up with them already a set amount. And I don't think that means they're going to do flashbacks in the same way Superman, for example, didn't do flashbacks to Superman like arriving to Earth and blah, 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 blah. I think it will be kind of like peppered in cool, interesting ways, hopefully. Through dialogue or maybe nightmares and like maybe slight little flashes, but nothing too in our faces. We have another super chat, if I can find it. Where is it from? Daniel Travis. Thank you so much, dude.
Thank you.
I hope Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne is more of the billionaire playboy in the Batman Part 2 than the emo Bruce Wayne in... Okay, wait, I'm messing the super chat up. It's more of a billionaire playboy than the emo Bruce Wayne in the Batman 2. I get what you're saying. I don't think we're going to get that. I get why you'd want that, though. I think it's going to kind of be... I don't know. I feel like he's going to come out of his shell more, but I still think he's going to be very sullen and kind of a bit timid, but he might make... You know, there's going to be more efforts, like when he speaks to Bella Real as Bruce Wayne, maybe Harvey Dent, and God knows what else he could get involved in, right? Like, we could be getting into an Eyes Wide Shut, Court of Owls type situation where he's forced to kind of walk amongst the highest secret society of like bloody masquerade masked people. But I don't think it's going to be like a billionaire, Christian Bale swimming in the hotel lobby and then turning it into a pool and buying the hotel. It's not going to be that vibe. I can't tell you that for a fact, but I would bet like money on it. He'll be more like philanthropic, reserved still, but still a little bit more than what he was in the first movie. But, I wouldn't get your hopes up for it, Daniel, is what I would say. There might be like different ways of but I don't know if there'd be different ways of really showing Playboy, but I think he will be like a bit more Prince of Gotham, but in a bit more of a, I don't know, like a Telltale Batman way, but it's still not quite even that, because that Bruce was quite more outspoken and confident. Thank you, Daniel. Really appreciate you, man.
Guy like me. Getting all that?
Arjona as Maxima 1. Yeah, I saw like Atlanta filming on Instagram. Like, it's been going around. Apparently there's been like Maxima or somebody in a red wig spotted, and the photo attached is so like potato-y that is like, I don't know who that is. I don't know if that means that we're going to see Maxima on set any day now, kind of thing. Or like, could it be Wonder Woman? I don't know. But it's getting me excited. We've got a lot of things coming up, right? We've got a lot of news coming out right now. We got Comic-Con next week, Lanterns panel. I know there's Lanterns leaks going around, by the way. I don't think I'm going to cover that in tomorrow's video, just for the sake of, like, spoilers, if that makes sense. A lot of people who watch my videos obviously aren't all on X/Twitter. So I'm not going to be like, because a lot of people I can talk about it here, and don't worry, I'm not going to give spoilers away, but a lot of people are like, hey, Boba, what do you think of this? And what I will say is, it doesn't surprise me, but also,
streets are crowded for the holiday.
I don't think it should surprise people because they were calling it since day one. But what I will also say is those people who are acting like that person's only going to be in the show for like 5 minutes have got the complete wrong end of the stick. they're going to be, like, in it quite consistently. It's more of like a what happened and why. If you know, you know. But yeah, there's some Lanterns leaks going around. But for the sake of, like, you know, the show and people who just don't spend their time on, like, social media much and haven't had it spoiled, I don't want to talk about that. I don't know how to feel about it, but it's also... Do you know what I mean by when it's not surprising? I kind of didn't think that kind of thing would happen in the show. But if it does... How do I say this? I hope that... Well, I know it's hard. It's so hard to talk about. I don't know. How do I talk about this? I don't think I can. But yeah, let's just move on for now until I figure out a way to talk about that. Because I don't want somebody to be like, Boba, how could you? I had no idea about that. What the fuck? You know how it is. You know how it is. Llama prop, yes. So that's what I was trying to get into. The whole time I've been saying I didn't think certain said thing would happen necessarily because it kind of seemed to go against what the showrunner was kind of saying thematically the show is going for. But maybe that was a bit of like a misdirect. If not a misdirect, then yeah, I don't know. I know exactly what you're talking about. And, you know, that interview with Entertainment Weekly when we had Chris Mundy, I believe, talking about that. But irrespective, I can't really talk about it beyond that. Do you know what I mean? It's hard. So, yeah. I don't know how the show could really be about what Chris Mundy said thematically. Like, this show is about this, you know, when to blah, 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 step aside if that happens. But I don't know if all is as it appears to be as well. And that sounds copy, but there's a lot of episodes. There's a lot of, like, 2016 timeline. And there's a lot of 2026 stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? So I think a lot of the show is going to be taking place in 2016, where you've got so much to learn about what happened and why. And then the 2026 stuff will be like probably Jon Stewart, veteran-ish Lantern. But, you know, even then I can't say that because it's like, when did Jon Stewart technically become a fully fledged Green Lantern? I doubt it's as soon as they hit Rushville. Do you know what I mean? I think there's going to be like a little bit of like a present day tease of what happens in Lanterns 2026-wise. And then it's like, oh shit, you need to kind of figure out what happened and why in Rushville. Kind of like, yeah, True Detective Season 1. True Detective Season 1, you kept having this interview with Marty and Rust. So Matthew McConaughey's characters and Woody Harrelson. And it's like, it's so interesting. I really love the way that storytelling, you know, approaches all of this, because it's like, okay, what's going on here? And then you go back and you learn stuff, and then you kind of keep revisiting some present day stuff. And since the show's really inspired by that, I think they're going to be not obviously copying that, but like kind of really influenced by that a bit. But I'm not sure how I feel about the leak, because without saying too much, when it comes to that subject, that thing was already, you know, you aren't going to get a whole bunch of that thing, if that makes sense. I think everyone, this is what I'm trying to articulate, everyone had already kind of accepted that. So I just think people might feel like, this is what I think about Lanterns, and this is what I've said the entire time going into it. I think it'll be a really good show, and I think HBO audiences will really dig it, hopefully, right? This is just a prediction. Might be Emmy nominated, like The Penguin, like audiences will like it, but I think comic book fans, it'll be like a bit of a Hunger Games, where you'll be getting DCU stands being like, nah, mate, it's fucking like, not only is it a good show, but DC-wise, like comic book fandom-wise, it's fucking, like, great. It doesn't matter what they decided to do with their creative liberties here, there, and, you know, everywhere. And then you'll have other DC fans being like, nope, the DCU's butchered this character. Why the fuck did they do this? It's so disrespectful. So that you're going to get a lot of those kind of Hunger Games battles and Doom posty kind of stuff online. But I think that Lanterns will still be a popular show. But DC fans will feel certain ways about certain things, and I think then there will just be people who feel in the middle. Am I worried it might get convoluted? I don't think so. I think my only concern with Lanterns, not that it's a concern for me, is that I think it will be a slow burn. For example, I guarantee you after the end of the first episode, people will be like, nothing happened. Like, what the fuck? Like, or maybe they will, given maybe what could happen, but I think what I'm trying to say... You know, remember some of the Peacemaker talks during Season 2? I've got a feeling some people are going to be like, we have to wait a whole week for Episode 2, or we have to wait another week for Episode 3, and they haven't even, like, really got their suits on, or, like, started, you know, getting this construct out. Why haven't we seen... You're going to get a lot of that. But I think mystery shows... Like, if you watched True Detective from week to week... It could feel probably quite slow-paced and a bit draggy for some audiences who expect, like, a Green Lantern kind of show, right? Like, maybe a lot more going on. But when you watch True Detective one episode after the other, it's like, holy fuck, I'm locked in. This is so interesting. So I think you're going to get a lot of that. People will say it's boring. I think people will be like, why isn't anything happening yet? But I think if you kind of take the slow burn and enjoy that build up to the mystery, I think that will be really good. I think you're going to have a lot of divisive opinions about why should we have to wait till episode 3. The first 2 episodes were good, but like, come on, it's going to be that kind of vibe. But you know, that's subjective, right? Like, some people will be fine with that. I've got a feeling I'll be okay with that. Some people might be like, nothing's happening. They're in their suit for like 2 seconds. Oh, fuck. Right, sorry. Heavy spoilers being really doom and gloom on the DCU. I haven't seen this latest video. I saw the one before that, but I haven't seen the video where it's titled something like... that latest report really says something about the DC or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, I think Paul's like quite a level-headed guy. So I mean, I haven't seen his latest video, but I think there's some things I agreed with and disagreed, both agreed and disagreed with on previous ones. And the only thing I could say that I disagreed with is this was not his latest video, and I don't even think it was the previous one. But in the past few months, he said something about, like, you know, the lack of diversity, tonal diversity in the DCU. And I think this is not obviously unique to him. It's what some people have been saying. A lot of people, really. And I just don't understand that, because it's like, have you not seen Lanterns and Clayface? Like, I think Gunn, whether they're good or not, whether they deliver or not, what I'm trying to articulate is they couldn't be more different than Superman. Or Supergirl, or Creature Commandos, or Peacemaker. So I think the DCU, like, people are very reactionary, like, as across the board. And I'm not saying you're wrong for having a reaction. I'm saying, like, I think it's quite quick, though. We're only 2 movies in. I'm not saying it's great that Supergirl fell fucking flat on its face. But it's, like, all doom and gloom. And I don't think we should say that just yet, because you do have other things to go. And, you know, it's funny, right? It sounds like corporate bootlicking here, but it is, as Peter Safran said, there is a broader DC plan. There are more movies than Superman and Supergirl, and more projects, right? So you do have Lanterns. That might be good, but it might not tick your box, right? But it could do. It could do for a lot of people. Then you have Clayface. That's a horror movie. It is full-on horror. It's not a superhero horror. It's canon to the DCU, but he's just delivering what he promised with regards to that, where you will have a movie in the genre as per that character, as per that comic book character. You know, Swamp Thing, you wouldn't pick up that comic book necessarily as a 11-year-old kid if you're really just wanting to pick up Supergirl comics. You would make that movie, you would read that comic book, you would write and illustrate that comic book horror-wise, right? So I think there will be tonal diversity. I just think we haven't quite fully got there yet. Buster said he thinks the future projects will all probably lose money because of Supergirl. I wouldn't say Paul is entirely wrong there. I would say that is something that remains to be seen, but I get the logic in terms of, like, you start off well with Superman, Supergirl, like, flops. Now do people kind of look at, like, oh, do I really want to check out Clayface then? It's like, for example, maybe why I didn't go check out Madam Web, or I didn't go check out Kraven in the theaters. I didn't want it. But, like, I don't know if it's quite the same, because Superman did really please audiences and critics. Supergirl, people didn't even turn up in the first place. Now, there is obviously a danger there that people might not turn up to Clayface. But I'm really hoping, like, the thing about horror movies and horror fans is that it's quite a hot thing these days, now more than ever. Well, I can't say ever, but, you know, in recent years. That Clayface, depending on the marketing, that's a very important thing. Marketing is really, obviously, fucking important. But, Clayface, already everyone kind of agrees that it looks pretty damn good. Now, going into October, I think it's the October 23rd release date, right? Clayface could do very good. I really do think it would do really well, hopefully. I don't think Supergirl particularly impacts that, but I can understand the argument. I don't think you can truly correlate, like, Supergirl's flop to, oh, will people now check out Clayface? Clayface is kind of in its own test, right? Because it's just like, well, not every kid or teenager can go see Clayface because they might not be old enough. Not every person who enjoyed Superman at that $617 million box office is going to be like, oh, I can go see Clayface, or even want to. They might not like body horror movies. So I think what you need to bear in mind there is Clayface, if it got anything... Like, it's got a $40-something million budget. Even if it got $70 to $100 million in the box office, that's amazing. It really is. You know, look up the box office for, you know, Smile. I think Smile had a $17 million budget and like a $70 to $100 million worldwide box office. A similar thing with Substance. Now, Weapons, I think, had a $40-something million budget, but Weapons made 107, maybe way more than 170, but maybe around 170 million. So, like, not all horror movies are like It, where it had a $40-something million budget. Could be wrong there, but it made $740+ million worldwide. Horror movies make a shit ton of money off of just like 70 million to $200 million. So, Krunal, the reason why people care is because it does kind of matter. I would argue that the metric isn't the same these days when it comes to movie success as what they used to be. So what I mean by that is box office does matter. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sound stupid here. But movies make money off of brand deals, like integrations through product, you know, car deals. They pay millions for Lois Lane to drive to the Hall of Justice in that vehicle, whatever it was. Product placement, all kinds of things like that, merchandise, so on and so forth. Premium video on demand, blah, 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 blah. Like, for example, Supergirl made over $100 million before it even released because of product stuff. So, yeah, the reason why people are obsessed with it is because, Krunal, it's what very much so contributes to determining how well this franchise is doing, you know? It's not a be-all, end-all. That's the ironic thing about what I'm saying. Some people do act like that, but Supergirl flopping does not mean the end of the DCU. But you know, people do concentrate on it because it is a measurement of success and where people's interest is at in the public and blah, 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 blah. Right, let's get to the next super chat. I think we've got another one. T to the Sween, what the hell? I didn't even see that you were here. Hello. I'm quite behind on all of this. My God. What's up? Ben Davis 287. Thank you very, very, very much for the $5 super chat, my friend.
Thank you.
Speaking of Driver, do you think he comes back to Star Wars? I'd love to see it. Love your content and your level-headed approach. Thank you, man. Well, I think he would have if we had the Hunt for Ben Solo movie, or whatever it was called. Was it the Hunt for... Am I thinking of the Hunt for Gollum, or was it actually called the Hunt for Ben Solo? Am I going crazy? So, long story short, yes, he was coming back. He was in his own movie. But now, like, Disney didn't let that happen. I don't think he comes back because that's it. You know, like, there was a story that they were going to do. Disney kind of gatekept that. So I don't see how he comes back unless he comes back as a Force Ghost or something like that, basically. But even then, I don't think he would want to. But, yeah, I don't know if you remember Ben Davis, but there was a movie that was written called The Hunt for Ben Solo. And they were literally going to do it. But, yeah, so I don't think so. Thank you, though, Ben. Swifty, hello. Why don't you schedule lives? I missed 15 minutes. Honestly, because they're very, like, impromptu. Like, you know, I just... Hey, I'm going live now. I suppose I could have, like, scheduled them an hour before, maybe? But, yeah, normally I just click go live, so... And I'm not always mega sure that I'm going to live stream that night kind of thing, so... I do apologize, Swifty. Good to see you, though, Swifty. Daniel Travis, thank you so much for your super chat. I really appreciate you, bro.
Thank you.
What do I think DCU James Gunn... Wait, what do I think about... what do you think DCU James Gunn's universe at the box office? Wait, Daniel. What are we talking about here? Like... Which movie? Because there's other movies coming out in the DCU. Like, we had Supergirl. That's not doing well in the box office. We have Clayface. We have Man of Tomorrow next year. So what do I think DCU James Gunn's universe at the box office? I need more context. Oh, what do I think of the overall box office so far? If it wasn't for Supergirl, then I'd be like, it's actually okay. And there's two ways of looking at... 3 ways, maybe? So there's... Maybe 2 ways. So, right. Superman, despite some naysayers out there, box office-wise was good. Like, it could have been better, a lot better. Internationally, it did not do well. But it did $617 million. And it made money in other ways, like merch, premium video on demand, blah, 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 blah. It made money. And the box office was good. And hopefully the trajectory would keep going up. Hopefully Man of Tomorrow makes more. 615 to 700 million, maybe. Something like that. I don't know. Then Supergirl came along, and that is looking so dire, so bad in terms of its box office run. Now, the 2 ways of looking at this is with what I was referring to, is that that's not the be-all, end-all, so the box office can continue as per, like, what it could have been, right? Like, so Clayface comes out in October. That could do really well. It could make $140 million on a $40 million budget. That would be great. Man of Tomorrow could come out and make $650 million, and that would still be good. So, Supergirl being a flop isn't the end of the world, but it does suck that it couldn't do better. And as for, like, why I wouldn't aim higher with Man of Tomorrow is for a couple of reasons. You know, I think comic book movies, you have to really be auteur-driven, and, you know, and what I mean by that is, like, I would say Matt Reeves, you know, people, like, in the test screening for Clayface, the second one, have said, Clayface feels like a film. The Batman feels like a film. Logan felt like a film, comic book movie, right? Whereas more cinematic universe ones don't always feel, like, filmy, if you know what I mean. And I think that kind of feel to comic book movies, like Supergirl, and yeah, like, Superman is a James Gunn movie, but it's still, I think, roped in with that cinematic universe kind of feel, where I think audiences are, like, a bit more checked out of that. So I can't remember where I was going with this, but Oh, yeah, I was basically saying that the reason why Man of Tomorrow I don't shoot higher than $650 million in the box office is because sequels rarely get more in the box office anyway. But also, even if it did, I don't think it's going to be $1 billion+ hit. I think, you know, going above Superman would be an achievement, even by $5 million. I think that would be a good strength, being like, oh, wait, like, still, Man of Tomorrow made over $600 million, right? That's good. At least it didn't make 400. That's the fear at this point with comic book movies, like even Fantastic Four, $500 and something million. People thought that would make $1 billion. You know, I think people are already predicting that X-Men makes over $1 billion. But I remember people saying that about Fantastic Four. Oh, we've been waiting for the MCU's version of Fantastic Four for all of these years. Be right back, $525 million. Not terrible, but not as good as it could have been. So I think, I don't know where I'm going with this, but the box office right now, like, I think people would call me a bit of a shill for saying this, but it's not over until it's over. So we've had 2 projects. Superman did good, could have done better, but it still did good. By all means, did not do bad. Supergirl did bad. Clayface, for its budget, could do good. Still remains to be seen. And Man of Tomorrow will be quite a big test with regards to will people turn up to basically sequel to Superman. So we're gonna have to wait and see. Thank you, Daniel. Oh, I didn't even see your next super chat, man. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Blimey.
Guy like me. Getting all that?
What do you do in James Gunn's universe needs to do to survive? What do they need to do to survive? I think... Oh, man, that's a tough one, right? Because that's where we're at very much so right now, post-Supergirl. Like, what does it need to do to navigate a successful future? But that's so easy for us to say, right? Oh, just make good movies. I think... I literally, as I say that, Begsy's like, make good movies. Easier said than done. But secondly, I think what you need to do is absolutely look at what happened with Supergirl. And now look at who you've got writing Batman and look at who you've got writing Wonder Woman. And, you know, is Christina Hodson and Anna Noguera the best choice to go with? Now, I'm not saying it's all of their fault, but, like, surely the screenplay could have been improved with Supergirl. But then again, like, you know, Craig Gillespie has a hand to play in this. He's the director. So I don't know, really, because I refuse to believe that Gunn isn't trying hard. Of course he is. When it comes to Wonder Woman and whatever projects he's got coming up next that isn't immediately in his control, I think he is, like, trying his best and making sure that he can get the right director and whatever to get on board. But maybe with Gillespie, it didn't work out that well. I'm not entirely sure, but all you can really do is look at what you did with Supergirl. And I don't think it's one thing that went bad. I think it was probably absolutely the script. But I do think Craig Gillespie maybe had a hand to play with, if, like, the creative differences aspect is true behind the scenes, maybe there was some clashing there. And, like, in addition to the screenplay, they really tried to salvage something that was already wrong at the very pre-production stage, if you ask me. Yeah, I don't know. I agree, Krunel. You shouldn't pressure DC Studios to rush Batman and Wonder Woman. Like, do you want another Supergirl? You know? So I feel the same way. You shouldn't rush it at all. You need to... But then again, like, Gunn can only do so much, right? Like, he's probably still trying to get things right with Wonder Woman and Batman, but, like, how... You can only do so much there. Like, what if the script just still isn't, like, so great, and he's like, well, I'm not going to greenlight it because we've learned from Supergirl now, but then again, you can't hesitate forever. So, yeah, as Nico just said, accept the failure and learn from it, and really learn from it. But shout out to you, Daniel. I really appreciate the support, man. And I see that you've even sent another one in.
Thank you.
But first, we have a super chat from Swifty. Swifty, back at it again. Let me make these a little bit smaller there. I need another Pepsi. It is getting hot in this room. And to the chat, yes, I am still trying to get an AC, but they're still sold out in the UK. Like, if you don't believe me, try and, well, Google AC in the UK and find me one that isn't like a really shit one. I'm trying to go for a good one. And they're all sold out. Right, Swifty. Very concerned. Ooh, for Man of Tomorrow. A lot of internet hating on guns. Superman wasn't huge. Plus, Supergirl will hurt. It needs Wonder Woman. I don't think Green Lantern plus Brainiac is enough, enough to casuals. Okay. I hear what you're saying there. The internet will always, so like Swifty, like no matter what, the internet, in my opinion, is really not a reflection of the general movie-going audience. And whenever I speak to people in real life, I get that proven. Like I've got friends in real life who aren't really even on X, or they do not browse it in the same way, right? They're not in the same kind of algorithm where they're following DC film news or me, or like mutuals into DC, other content creators, or 3C Films. They're just like very casual. They enjoy the movies and they do not remotely think about, oh my god, people are flaming on man. That is Twitter. Like there is absolutely a microcosm of this world that, like, on the internet that is really toxic. And I'm not saying that they are, you know, for example, like people didn't turn up to Supergirl, right? So people clearly weren't that interested in it. That exists, but what I'm saying is people hating on Man of Tomorrow. People were hating on Superman before that came out, but still people, like, it made $600 and something million, right? So Supergirl could hurt it. We were going over this earlier. Like, could Supergirl's flop kind of impact upcoming movies? It could do, maybe, right? And you're right. Like, Brainiac isn't like a big pull for general movie-going audiences. They might be like, who's Brainiac? But I'm sure they would have been like, who was, I don't know, Thanos. I don't know, but there was a lot more of a build-up, obviously, in the MCU. I think what I'm trying to say is, you know, marketing's an important thing there. I mean, Green Lantern's pretty big, obviously, yeah, but I'm just thinking of, like, your most average kind of typical fan out there. But I just, and what they know. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, Swifty. Daniel Travis, back at it again with another $10 super chat. Dude, thank you. No message attached, though. Daniel, I have no idea if you meant to attach a message to that, but thank you so much, bro. I might have missed a message that you may have tried to send in the live chat, but I don't see one. Alarm props like, be blunt, Boba. Get them out of there. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Rest in peace, Sam Neill, dude. That, very, very sad. Man, Sam Neill, you know, I've been watching him all my life, obviously, from Jurassic Park to, I remember even the Tudors. But one role that stood out to me was Merlin. I know loads of people, when I say that, are like, wait, what, really? What do you mean? And I'm like, does nobody remember when he played Merlin in that, like, 5-episode miniseries? You can probably watch it on YouTube, by the way. Just type in Sam Neill Merlin, and you'll see this kind of very, like, 90s adaptation of, like, Arthur and Merlin. And oh man, I used to love Arthurian, like, King Arthur Merlin stuff growing up. So, like, that Merlin, I loved him as Merlin. It's kind of quite a weird, kind of very old, maybe aged Merlin. But Sam Neill, man, he was so good in that. He was so good. I think it got butchered in reviews, but it's like, you know, I'm quite biased to it. But yeah, I have no idea what happened. Obviously, I think it was cancer-free. They said that it happened fairly suddenly, so I got, you know, it could have been anything. Could have been anything that happened all of a sudden. Buster Barnes, how do some movies not spot plot holes or plot contrivances, or do they not care? Like, how do they not realize that no point does Krem find out Supergirl is Kryptonian? I think they do, because, by the way, there is an actual role on set, or, like, you know, hired in production, where you're meant to have somebody who's like, oh yeah, this doesn't make sense. But I think when I heard that was a real thing, I thought that most movie productions must just ignore that person. Because, like, if there's somebody's job to be, like, poke holes in it and, you know, they're meant to navigate that, I think the reality is when you actually... It's easy for us to sit in a seat here, and I'm not making up excuses. I'm not trying to. I'm just... Well, like, maybe I am, but because I'm trying to say that movies still do and succeed at this, and they eliminate contrivances and plot devices, you know, blatant ones and lazy ones. But I think in the reality of hundreds of people, thousands of people working on a set... things can happen where you can't really correct it. I mean, obviously it shouldn't have happened in the first place, but not always does the screenplay reflect maybe what you're, like, literally filming and the way it might go down, or the way the stunt choreographer may have, you know, filmed this moment, or like when they said Ruthie takes Kara into the cave, they weren't super specific about how did Ruthie take her into the cave. Like, Kara was passed out. How the fuck does she drag, you know? All of this stuff should be paid attention to, but I think it slips through the cracks all the time. A very good movie production should be pretty anal about that, and, like, really, you know, vigilant to, like, dumbass moments about, you know what I'm saying. But some stuff doesn't. You know, even, like, your favorite movies have, like, contrivances in it. Like, why didn't, I don't know, Batman... triangulate where those photos were taken, right? Like Batman, the world's greatest detective. Hey, oh, Penguin handed me these photos. Maybe I'm gonna... That looks like it came up from there. If he would have done that, he would have found the Riddler as of the Iceberg Lounge scene in the Batman towards the beginning of the movie, and the movie would have ended. That's why that didn't happen, but Matt Reeves should have thought of that. Matt Reeves should have maybe had Riddler leave a camera or a telescope there, but that's not actually where his apartment was. Maybe it was like the opposite side. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you can always poke holes in a lot of things. Now, let me give you guys another example. I don't know how many people will agree with me here, but it was my wife's birthday yesterday, and she wanted to watch a movie, and I was like, okay, can we watch Obsession? And she was like, no, it's my birthday. And I was like, okay. She was like, let's watch The Housemaid. And, you know, we watched it on Amazon Prime. And that was an absolutely fucking terrible movie. Absolutely terrible movie. Now, Brandon Sklenar in it, you know, because I saw a lot of people talking about that at the time. I thought he was cool, but it was so bad. Like, oh my God. Like, some people might be like, but Boba, I enjoyed it. Fair enough. But that movie is so bad. Like, the characters are crap. The plot contrivances are insane. The pacing of the movie is just like, what is even going on? I think it's a terrible movie. I think it's really, really bad. Then you have that, like, housekeeper guy. That is the perfect example. Anyone who's seen The Housemaid right now. Do you remember that housekeeper guy? Like, the guy who was just literally a plot device? Like, there's no personality to him. There's no character development. He's literally there to just, you know, create fake passport. Like, basically be there when you need him. Like, that's, you know... The whole movie's like that. And it was awful. It was like, hey, let's just get Sydney Sweeney. Let's get the other cast. Give them a budget. Adapt this kind of smutty, weird kind of thriller. And there you go. Like, I thought it was an awful movie. I have to say, like, you know, the soundtrack on it, like, it's just such a typical trashy kind of movie. It felt like I was watching, one of those, like, I don't know how to explain it, but I remember people were going on about it at the time, so I was looking forward to it going into it. But yeah, it was like one of those most cliche, predictable, typical crap writing, crap characters, most contrived moments, most predictable. Like it was just. Now this is where some of us will differ, right? There's gonna be many of you in the chat being like, "Bro, why couldn't you just enjoy it? It's a movie, bro. Just enjoy it." That's where, like, you know, to put it in a very kind of pretentious way, like everyone has different standards. Like, it's just true. Like, some people like have different standards. Like, this floats your boat. You don't care about that. That's why you really enjoy it. If your standards were such where you couldn't stand this, that, or the other in the writing, or you know, then you would be like, oh my god, why? How is this so, you know, lacking? And you know, do you see what I mean? So I found The Housemaid to be the worst movie I've watched in a long time. It's just, yeah, very bad, very bad. Like, did you guys actually care about Sydney Sweeney's character? Like, at all? Did you? Oh, I could bitch about that movie. My God. I just didn't find it interesting at all. The baby is doing well. Baby Boba is doing well. Well, actually, one thing we felt very bad about recently is that Baby Boba's got, like, conjunctivitis. So we've had to use antibiotic ointment cream for her eyes. And that's been, like, really horrible to, you know, watch her go through that. She got that, like, 4 or 5 days ago. Like, her eyes were kind of, like, fusing together with, like, gunk. And that's just not nice for a little Bubba to go through. So, but she's tons better now because, you know, you apply it, like, 4 times a day. And she's nearly out the woods, I think. So, why do you like DC more than Marvel? Just because I don't cover Marvel as much as I'd like to, does it? Well, I happen to like DC characters more than Marvel, but I do still really like Marvel, believe it or not. And again, like a couple of years ago, I covered Marvel way, way more. And I say this all the time, but I really do plan on hopefully getting back there one day. Like, I'm going to be obviously reviewing Spider-Man Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday, like the main big heavy hitters. But, you know, like if there was like still like TV shows, you know, like in Disney Plus when it first launched, WandaVision and Loki, I was reviewing those on the channel every episode. But then when it came to like Secret Invasion and what else, like Agatha, I just kind of fell off. I might cover Vision. So right, we got some more super chats that I need to get through. But yeah, honestly, just the characters. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Obsessed with Daredevil, X-Men, Spider-Man, so on and so forth. But Batman, Superman, you know, The Flash, so on and so forth. Just personally, my favorites are over on the DC side, more so than the Marvel side. You watched Pinocchio Unstrung today, and it makes The Housemaid look like a masterpiece. Oh. Oh. Yes, that doesn't help as well. Like on the cutting room floor, but like editing can cut out context and, you know, things that could pad things out better. Like, why is this character doing that? But it doesn't always save everything, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes it can. But, did you not watch do you not watch Obsession with your missus? I really want to. I'm way more into horror and thriller than she is, but with the baby, it's probably a bit more difficult now, because obviously when we're having dinner and stuff, like, the baby's always there. And she... Like, don't get me wrong, like, babies can sleep through pretty much anything when they're in that mood. But, and at other times, if she's hungry and, like, she's, like, not really getting put down that easy, then it's hard to even eat dinner, you know, let alone watch Obsession. So I don't think we're going to be able to do that anytime soon. I'm going to have to try and watch it myself, I think. Absolutely. Rest in peace to Sam Neill. Absolute freaking legend. Right, let me get back to the super chats. And thank you guys for sending in the super chats. There's a lot of names popping up, so thank you so much for your generosity. I have got one eye to my Twitter, by the way, just in case more X-Men things are popping up. Right, righty-ho, where were we? Wait, sequential, did I not read this out? Wait, where was I? So we did Daniels. Miles Jubert Robertson. What's up, House of Fam and yourself? Thank you for joining the stream, Miles, and for being a member for 61 months, bro. Good, thank you. We're almost here at Spider-Man, brand new day. So stoked for it. What's your opinion on Gunn diverting the comic origin of Clayface? Well, I don't think that would have been James Gunn, believe it or not. Mike, your super chat is coming up, I believe, in a few super chats time. Yes, it's coming up. No, yeah, so that's not Gunn changing the origin of Clayface. That would have been Mike Flanagan or Hossein Amini. And even then, it's not really changing it, right? It's, Clayface was disfigured in an accident, like in Batman the Animated Series, for example. He was already a very established Hollywood legend, and he got disfigured in a car accident. In this one, he's being disfigured by some mob bosses because I don't know if he owed them money or something else or another, but it's still like the same point. Like it's still more or less the same. And instead of being like a very established Hollywood legend, like he seems to be a very big up and comer, like proper breakout star, very popular already, but like still not at his peak. So what are my thoughts on that? I don't think he really is. I think it's, you know, it's sure it's an adaptation, so it's not copy and paste, but it's doing everything it needs to do, at least from what I know about it. Mike, thank you for the 5 Rapunzels, my friend.
Thank you.
When do you think Warner Brothers will announce who is playing Batman in the DCU? Well, I mean, if it's not in Man of Tomorrow, then, I mean, my God, this is a tough one, right? It all depends if you believe Batman is really going to appear in Man of Tomorrow. Would they keep that a secret? Maybe. I think if he was, then I think even if leaks were coming out, they would, you know, the best thing to do would be to just ignore it. But when it comes to Brave and the Bold, this is so much more harder to answer now, but especially after the Supergirl movie, because they might want to re-examine their scripts. And Batman the Brave and the Bold has already been in this kind of heavy review process. You know, a lot of, I assume, scrutiny surrounding the script before moving ahead, because Batman is such an important character to get right for them. And even James Gunn and Peter Safran have said that themselves. Like, they are going to make sure this one's really good. So, when it comes to announcing it, I would have thought Wonder Woman would probably be first, even though it should be Batman since that's been in development for longer. But you could have argued that I would have expected that to be sometime next year. But now I'm just like, well, I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest with you. To be very transparent, it could be next year that we find out about it. Even with regards to like ramping up to pre-production for Brave and the Bold. Like the script could be done some point early next year, come the summer or fall. Like they could be getting into a bit more ramp up for it. But if not, like you would have thought so, but right now, there's quite a lot up in the air when it comes to the DC Batman movie and when they're going to kind of tackle that production-wise. And even in development, like when are they going to complete development? And the Wonder Woman movie. You know, Brave and the Bold's been in development since January 2023. Wonder Woman's been in development since, what, like February last year, maybe? I can't remember. Maybe it was, yeah, February last year. Is when we heard that Ana Nogueira went from Titans to Wonder Woman. So it's like, this is why I've always said I'd be hard-pressed to believe that we wouldn't have heard anything about DCU Batman or Wonder Woman by the end of 2026. Now, that's not me saying casting, but like, or one of those two projects moving forward a bit more, let alone next year, right? But now when you have Supergirl flop, you know, internally you would expect them to probably have another microscope kind of lens on those scripts, and that might piss people off because a lot of people are scrambling right now after Supergirl to be like, oh, we need Batman and Wonder Woman out, get them out right away. But it's like panicking. It's like your panic is also what's kind of maybe going to lead to another mistake. You're pressurizing them, or you're demanding them to release these movies when it's like, wait, would you rather them get it right, or would you rather them maybe take a bit longer, especially after Supergirl, review it again, review that review, and then review it again, and then do it, because then you don't get a Supergirl situation. If you rush it out now, if you put Batman and Wonder Woman out there right now to kind of like appease fans, then you could be getting another Supergirl. So yeah, Daniel, I saw this one. Oh, there is another one coming up. Don't worry, Daniel. To anyone who sent in a super chat, don't worry, we're getting to it. I'm just going through them in order. And it's just taking me a while to get through them. But you know what? I'm going to go get another Pepsi because it is getting hot in here and I need a cold drink. So I will be right back with Sequential's super chat. Okay, so that is really cute. Right before coming back in here, I was just peeped in the bedroom, and you have little baby Boba like this, and then my wife also asleep on the bed. I was just like, oh. And then meanwhile, there's me shouting in here about, well, DCU Batman, bloody hell, DCU Batman. Right. Sequential, I did. We spoke about this like maybe an hour ago now, maybe. Did you see the alleged photos someone took saying it's Maxima? Yes, so Atlanta filming. So legit photographer who has actually caught quite a bit of Man of Tomorrow. Well, DCU stuff, Superman, Man of Tomorrow. Took a very potato quality shot saying, at least from what he saw, that isn't, in my opinion, really reflected in the photo, but that he saw a woman on set with a red wig and like some shoulder armor and stuff like that, and that could be Maxima. But when it comes to looking at that picture, man, it's like what are we looking at? It's like, truly, it's not even like a little, remember the Supergirl set photos where you could still see the blue and the red cape? This isn't even that. It's like, what is this? Is it like a pavement or a curtain? I don't know. Yeah, I get what you're saying, Buster Barnes. Something is still a bit fishy there. Could be to do with Ava De Dominici. Just with regards to the theory of, okay, well, if they were both testing for a role, maybe he doesn't want to confirm one, because then people would be like, well, okay, maybe the other got Wonder Woman, kind of thing, Right. But hopefully, by the way, this means that we will see Maximus soon. Or maybe they really are just like the Batman who covered up the rehearsals with like that black tarp or whatever it was. Maybe they're going to keep it under lock and key. By the way, I said this Friday on Twitter, but I was like, it's about time we had like another kind of development on the Batman. Now, technically, maybe we got that in the rumor mill, which we're going to cover tomorrow, like the Poison Ivy stuff a bit more. But I'm talking like, we need another Matt Reeves post. We need like a set photo. So far, we are getting withdrawals. It's been a minute. Daniel Travis 4774, thank you very much for the $5, dude. Again.
Thank you.
Did we? I swear I answered this earlier. Is this not the same? What do you do in a James Gunn's universe needs to survive? I will say what I said earlier, and that is like learn from Supergirl, learn from its failing, and you cannot have this happen again. It's look at the silver lining of how this happened the second movie in, and you know, obviously it didn't happen with Wonder Woman or Batman, so hopefully you can avert that from happening to your biggest characters. They really need to have like we're talking like a scientific experiment, investigation when it comes to okay, here's what happened with Supergirl. Here's what we don't repeat with Wonder Woman or something. No, not at all, Daniel. I mean, let me know if I am interpreting it wrong, but I would just say they need to... Like, I'm still on board with their approach of, hey, here's Clayface, a potentially very successful horror movie. Hey, here's Lanterns, a very kind of different True Detective kind of HBO prestige level show. That's not necessarily what you may have expected. I'm still down with all of that. But obviously, we still need to wait to see if those projects were written well or like are even good. But yeah, shout out to you, man. Thank you so much for all the super chats you've sent in. Nico, thank you very much for another super chat. £5 super chat here.
Thank you.
If you could pick one comic book era for the DCU to use in their adaptation of Batman, which would you pick? Wait, so are you saying that without, like... So if they move away from, like, the Grant Morrison kind of influence they're going with? Because that's what... Well, to be fair, like, lots of people these days are looking into... you know, how some things may have changed with Brave and the Bold. So is there even a Damian Wayne anymore? So are we going through the kind of Grant Morrison-y kind of approach to... Even though, I mean, I would still say I would like that kind of... thing about the Grant Morrison Batman run is that he tries to make every single aspect of Batman out there true, which... Or, like, you know, even if it's, like, in a dream or something, like, it's still kind of, like, happened in some way or another. But... And, like, with the fantastical DCU, where there's pocket dimensions and everything like that, Batman could technically get shot by Darkseid's Omega beams and sent back to prehistoric times. I don't think they're going to go that ham, obviously, but I do like a lot of the fantastical elements of that Batman in you know... that kind of world, but I don't think you should sacrifice any kind of the like it need. This is the thing, it's going to be hard for them to nail, because you want to marry the best of that bombasticness with, like, not forgetting anything of the 90s kind of, and from there on out, like, real darker, supernaturally even kind of creepier side to his investigations and missions and whatnot. And I don't know. I want like a blend of all of it, really, but that's easy for me to say. Sequential says, to be fair, they can take many different things. Rewrite how Damien was born? Probably. Yeah. Yeah, they would do that. There's no way there's going to be, you know, what happening. Let the cape cover the whole damn screen. Sky P says the DCU should adapt the comics Batman Hush, All-Star Batman, Batman Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on a Serious Earth, in the Brave and the Bold movie. I mean, this is what I mean, right? As a Batman fan, you can appreciate all the different tones, yet how are you gonna, like, condense all of that into one iteration? I think it can be done, but, I just think you can't make everyone happy, that's the thing. So what would be missing? I think maybe my worry with the DC Batman is that he won't be kind of dark enough. Like, he'll be Batman, he'll have a Batcave, it'll be very fantastical, it might even be Grant Morrison Batcave levels of whatever, but maybe there won't be enough of, like, you know, the Serious House on a Serious Earth kind of, like, vibe where I want that kind of dark... I don't know, maybe they, you know, look at Creature Commandos, he's up there on the freaking... I don't know. Gunn did say he doesn't want a campy Batman, but we'll see. Okay. He needs to be freaking cool. I know what you mean, Morgie. But we're hearing that the cutting room floor doesn't make a massive amount of difference, actually. I mean, supposedly, from the other cut, there was only 11 more minutes, which doesn't add a massive amount to the movie. Like, I do agree with criticisms of Supergirl, where it's like, you know, when Kara's, like, whole shtick is... You know, I get it, right? There's trauma from Argo City. I'll be the first person to say that. But a whole part of her character is like... You know, Superman sees the, you know... good in people, and I see the truth. And it's like that criticism where you've heard maybe people say it before. It's like, well, what impacted that worldview? Why don't you like people? Why don't you trust people? What happened to you that you see the truth in people, right? You know, where is that? Like, because as far as we're concerned, you had a really good life on Argo City. It tragically went wrong because of natural disaster. You got sent to Earth. Your interaction with people isn't bad. Now, if Argo City started fighting amongst themselves for, like, for food and water as people were dying, then that would be a bit like, okay, we see, you know, it's like there's a lot in the movie, like, writing-wise like that, which doesn't really amount to much for her character. It's kind of like, yeah, we need to make this Supergirl a bit different, so we've kind of given her this line, this kind of shtick to make her different from Superman, all without kind of really getting into that so much. Other than, obviously, I'm not forgetting Argo City. So, you know, her whole, like, revenge speech as well, like, you can't do this because it'll fight. It's like she talks from a place of experience almost, and it's like, you can't do this, and I get that some of that could be common sense. But I don't know. It just felt like very surface level. Here's what maybe a character would say at this part of the story in the third act. So, like, they're saying it, but, like, if we actually rewind, we kind of need to, like, get into that character as to why they're saying that over here. I feel like there's a lot of that part of the movie where it's just, yeah, it's not, like, explored enough. But I just... And I've seen plenty of people talk about stuff like that, and I would agree with it. Like Lobo, for example, I didn't really care for Lobo. I like Jason Momoa, but I don't know what it is, man. Like, I just felt like he was figuring out the character as he was playing the character in the movie, and it came across sometimes funny. I agree with that. Like, I liked when he was in the cell, you know, when Ruthie was in the cell, and he was talking to her. I like those moments, but mostly I could actually take it or leave it. Like, I don't know if Jason Momoa has lost a bit of charm for me, but it wasn't as like So, like, I don't know, when you talk about all of it, like, Supergirl, I still think it's a fun time. And I think it is being overly shat on. I will die on that hill as well. But at the same time, I do think it's... Why was he in the cell, though? I thought the argument was that maybe he allowed himself to get caught. I don't know. I mean, there's more nitpicks you can do. Like, remember when Ruthie was climbing into that vent behind that guy pissing? And it's like, there's no way in hell that you wouldn't hear somebody right behind you jump up into a vent, hoist themselves up, go along the vent. There's a lot of that in the movie. Like, why didn't Supergirl grab the potion from Krem? She could have done that a billion times. She really could have. For some reason, she went... I remember there's that one moment where Krem was going after Ruthie, and Kara, like, chose to go after Ruthie when she could have still achieved both. I don't know. Oh, yeah. How does Krem know about Kara being a Kryptonian? How did he get kryptonite? How did he know to save the kryptonite for a long time for a Kryptonian? When, as far as we're aware, Superman's only been Superman for 3 years. He's not galactically well known. So, Supergirl's the only other person. She hasn't gone around flaunting that kryptonite's my weakness, by the way. So, how do other people know about Kryptonians being weak to kryptonite when Kryptonians didn't even know about it until their planet blew up? And even then, they didn't know about it. Like, Argo City knew about it because they realized that the crystals in their Earth were poisoned because of the yellow sun. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's no thinking into that from Anna in the script. Like, in the Woman of Tomorrow comic book, it makes sense because Superman has been around for a while. There's this scene in the bar on that space station where, like, this alien's picking a fight with Kara because she's wearing the House of L symbol, saying, well, your cousin fucked with my cousin, and I'm going to take it out on you, Supergirl. In the DCU, it's not like that, right? I understand how in the Woman of Tomorrow comic book universe, it's like, okay, people might know about kryptonite, right? In Supergirl, nobody knows about it other than, like, Superman, maybe Lex Luthor, and Supergirl. So for the movie, for Krem just to be like, oh, I got some kryptonite darts. I know some of you listening to me right now be like, just enjoy the movie, bro. Look, okay, you enjoy the movie. Like, I can enjoy it as well, but, like, this is relevant criticism. It is not set up. It is not explained. It is... This happened because I wrote it on the script and it's happening, and that is happening because of that. That's why. Don't ask questions. That's why it's happening. And I just know there's people out there right now being like, Boba, shut up. I don't agree with you. But how... I will say this. Like, it sounds like stubborn, but how could you not agree with that? That's just a fact. That's what the movie presents to you. That's what people mean by bad writing. And aspects of bad writing in the Supergirl script. Nobody's a fan of stuff like that. It's like, even with Superman, like, I would, say things like Ultraman wasn't remotely explored enough. He was kind of like this plot device, unfortunately, a bit too much in the movie. He's a very interesting concept. And I get why, like, there's certain things like that in the movie that you can't always explore so much. But again, you review this and you review it and you review it a bit more. You can't always give 25 minutes of screen time to every character like Hawk Girl, Guy Gardner, Ultraman. But still... There's you know, how does Ultraman understand what 1A is, 7B? Okay, he was taught that, but then he understands to like say these words, I am the hammer of Boravia, and all of these things, instructions from Lex Luthor, but then without the 1A and without the 7B, he can't fight for him. He doesn't know how to do anything. It's inconsistent. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's not really well thought. Like, we're just meant to buy it, but it just doesn't really make sense. So, you know, I could go in on this all day. Yeah, Buster Barnes has been here before. He's like, oh god, not the Ultraman rant again. Agent Llama Prop says, why doesn't Lex clone Ultraman 100 times? Very good question. Yeah. So I would argue that Buster Barnes raised something pretty cool here. Could you argue that when they stole her ship, they saw her suit and recognized the symbol as Kryptonian? That is Cope, though. My argument would be that still wouldn't make sense because, as far as we know, nobody out there knew about kryptonite because Kryptonians didn't even know that kryptonite was that like something bad to them until Argo City. So basically, Krypton blew up, right? It just blew up. Argo City survived, and those on Argo realized that they were getting radiation and cancer from the kryptonite in the Earth of Argo, because they were flying past a yellow sun that was activating the Kryptonian crystal. So what I'm trying to say is, the only people who knew that they, you know, kryptonite was like killing Kryptonians was the Kryptonians on Argo. Like, you wouldn't have Krem walk into Supergirl's ship being like, oh, that's a Kryptonian suit. Oh, I know their weakness, kryptonite. Like, nobody knew about that. Nobody knows about it. Nobody knows about it. You know, to be fair, like, I would go more on about this with Lex Luthor, to be fair. Like, how does Lex Luthor know that? But I think Lex's evil genius, I mean, this isn't thoroughly explained enough, but through the character inherently, Lex would have kind of kept going and going and going and going and going to find a weakness or something like that. But if you want to be technical about it, like, it wasn't explained. But I think you can give some benefit of the doubt with a character like Lex Luthor that he was so obsessed with Superman that he may have triangulated where certain asteroids or something like that came on the night that he frickin', you know, Clark's pod came to Earth, and maybe there was some other meteorite rocks that landed with that, and he looked into that. And do you know what I mean? I'm just saying, even though that wasn't said, and that normally should be the rule, we all understand that Lex Luthor is a character that would kind of do stuff like that. So it's not outside the realms of possibility for me to suspend my disbelief that Lex Luthor could have found a way to learn about kryptonite with Superman, or, like, you know, have Metamorpho synthesize something that allows, you know, Clark to be weak, right? That makes sense, right? But the Supergirl stuff just doesn't hold up. Because in Superman, it was, I totally forgot, like, wait, unless I'm forgetting, but it was just Metamorpho, right? And Metamorpho maybe could just, through his meta genes, like, inherently conjure something, an element that would just make Superman weak to you. Like, boom. There wasn't any other kryptonite in the movie, was there? Lex didn't have, like... I remember the theories about the kryptonite bullet in the revolver, but there wasn't. It was just Metamorpho. So to be fair, like, in Superman, it holds up even way better. Like, Metamorpho would meta-manifest it. It's fine. Now Lex knows about it thanks to Metamorpho. Maybe he can try and recreate the element that Metamorpho created to weaken Superman. And Bob's your uncle. Alright, sorry. I need to get to the next super chat. Right, we had Nico here. Swifty. Thank you very much for another £5 super chat. Not to sound pushy, but can you schedule at least 25 minutes? Might be the first time you agree with my concern. Thank you. Thank you for the stream. I was feeling down, needed it. No worries, Swifty. As for the schedule, I could try that next time. You know what? I will try it. Just for you, Swifty. I will try. Sequential Archic, thank you for the £2 super chat. Spider Noir TV show review. I haven't watched all of Spider-Man Noir. I haven't watched... This is the thing. I was just watching House of the Dragon. And then Baby Boba arrived. So I haven't even caught up with that. And I know Swifty is going to be sad about that because we were talking about that on the previous stream. So I'm sorry. Do I like Conan? Yes, I do. Oh, that's a good point. Wait, Llama Prop. Were they talking about it because of Metamorpho, though? They were talking about Kryptonite early in the film at the council meeting. What, at the Pentagon? Trying to remember what was said there now. Okay, okay. So there was no more left because Superman probably got rid of it. I would just divert back to what I was saying. That maybe, you know, they tracked, I don't know, I suppose if they tracked like Superman's arrival to Earth on like star charts from like 30 years ago or something, they could have found, I don't know. How would they know? I don't know. That's true, that's true. You can nitpick anything if you try hard enough. I do agree. But there's some that's more egregious than others. So if there's something... You know, my friend said this to me once, and I completely agree with him. Like, if it depends how much the plot is predicated off of it. So what I mean by that is, if there's a certain plot contrivance or convenience or whatever you want to call them, that pushes the plot forward in a significant way, aka meaning that if this didn't just happen, then that wouldn't have happened, and that really important thing wouldn't have happened. So going back to the plot contrivance, that's very bad. You don't want something really convenient, really not explained, just don't ask questions about it, to be the very thing that propels a major thing moving forward. And there's too many things that do that in many things. And yeah, that is rich, Llama Prop. Like, I had that conversation with him bloody years ago now, and that always opened my eyes to kind of be a good way of thinking about it, because there's some plot contrivances or like, oh, this doesn't make sense, that I couldn't give a flying shit about. Like, someone might nitpick, oh, Tyler Hoechlin Superman threw this fortress crystal in the ocean, and the way the fortress erupted unrealistically made those waves move in a way that just doesn't make sense, Boba. It doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. That doesn't affect the plot, man. Like, okay, maybe if there was like 50 stupid things like that where it's like, okay, that doesn't make sense, or like that wouldn't have happened, or like this happening in that moment, or like, you get what I'm trying to say. But if there's a major plot moment happening in the movie, like to the point of where it's like, I don't know, like Anakin turning to the dark side or something, I don't freaking know, but like it's all hinging off of a moment that is complete utter convenience, then that is very bad. And so there's different degrees of that, right? There's like a certain degree where you might be a bit more forgiving, where it's like, okay, I can't think of a great example, but said thing happens, and it's like, well, that was a bit convenient, but it didn't make or break the development in the movie's plot. Like, it wasn't like Thanos' gauntlet with the Infinity Stones, like all that whole thing was solved because of this thing. It was something a bit minor. Maybe Hulk got a punch in where... No, this would be a good example. Sometimes there's characters that allow their face to get punched, and you might be a bit more forgiving with that. They might be like, well, why aren't they going like this? Why aren't they blocking themselves? Why didn't they stand out the way? They let them... you might be a bit more forgiving of that. But if there's like a major thing, then it might just be like, okay, well, that's just dumb. As a result, you've canonically made the main character dumb, the supporting cast dumb, just because you wanted to advance the plot in that way. So when we're talking about nitpicking, yes, you can nitpick anything if you try hard enough, Luke. But not everything is the same. Not everything is a nitpick. I think sometimes people conflate everything together as nitpicks, but that's not true. And that's where the more you kind of go down this path, not that I'm painting myself as like a film expert or anything, but the more you think about movies like this and why that means why writing is important, why editing and everything like that all falls into place, and it's important to get those things right, is because there's movies that do it in a way where they do take that very seriously, and you really do appreciate how they've actually managed to pull that off without a stupid plot device or convenience or contrivance being the thing that, you know, is what's progressing everything going forward. No, it was something that was explained, that was earned, that was developed, that makes sense. And there's so many movies out there which I think people call like popcorn movies, maybe a bit of a slop movie, where, you know, you can look at Fast and Furious and stuff like that, where you can enjoy it, you can be entertained, but look at the logic in those scripts, or like maybe the biggest moment that happens in that movie, or like the biggest top 3 moments that happen, and look at them and be like, was that convenient? Was that a bit kind of forced? If it was, then there's a high chance that the writing for that was pretty poor and lazy. And there's a way that they could have written that to make a lot more sense and be a lot more kind of high quality, if you know what I mean, if you want to get a bit film bro-y about it. And I think people just feel that way with a bit of Supergirl, going back to what we were talking about. How does Krem know that Krypton, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like, you could do that for a long time with Supergirl. Right. Godzilla and Kong, my god, yeah. You don't need logic when you have family. Right, okay. My god, I am behind on Super Chats. I do apologize. I'm gonna go through them now. Just don't get me into any more rambles. No, Luke, not at all, man. Like, I mean, I try and, I try and just talk about that whenever I can, so people can kind of get a bit more of a open mind about it. Because, you know, when you're running a channel, you can't please anyone, right? Like, I might talk about something and I'm not criticizing enough, or if I'm criticizing, I get called a nitpicker, and it's like, no matter what, it's like, so I try and see both ways, right? I'm trying like, when I look at things, I'm like, oh, okay, Supergirl is really fun. I think it's like Blue Beetle. But like Blue Beetle, there's a lot to it that's kind of like, you know, or like, you know, nothing to write home about. So, but you can't say that either, because you either have to call it terrible or amazing. So, you know, but we move forward. Oh my god, JSA2 Heath, thank you for the $5. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, but what's my opinion on the rumor today that Adam Driver may be the next Magneto? I think it's absolutely amazing. I think he's exceptionally talented. I'm pleasantly surprised. Well, I mean, I'm not saying he wouldn't play a role like that, but I don't know if I would have thought that, oh yeah, Adam Driver's going to accept a role like in the MCU anytime soon or whatever, but I'm so glad he did. He's that level of talent that I think, to be fair, maybe he's being offered a lot of money, but X-Men is very popular inherently, but to drive forward that next phase of the MCU one day, you want people like Adam Driver as characters like Magneto to have that kind of bravado and conviction, to the likes of, you know, I'm not saying like, oh, it's going to be the new Robert Downey Jr., but you need that cast. You need the next Chris Evans. You need the next whatever, right? Orangutan, I get what you're saying, but I think the long haired Adam Driver, long haired Magneto vibe, I mean, I see it. I do see it. I think he can play that Magneto who has such conviction in what he's doing, feeling so strongly for it, yet Adam Driver has an exceptional ability to, play these roles where there's like, he can be compassionate, but he can be so emotionally conflicted and display that in his face so well. And I think when you're like Magneto and you're doing what Magneto does, you believe in what he believes in, yet you've got ties to like Charles and other X-Men, and you need to have like the physicality of someone like Magneto as well. And we know Adam Driver's like 6'5" or something like that. He's experienced with using the Force and telekinesis. I think he can do it. And if you don't see it, you will see it. You will. No, but Magneto deserves a better actor? What? Adam Driver is one of the... Well, I'd say he's one of the better actors out there. Maybe he's not the casting that you would have wanted, but I wouldn't describe it as better actor. Like, Adam Driver is a very good actor. Very good. I totally hear you, though, if you're like, oh, not the one I would have picked. But, acting ability, my God, he's great. If you've just seen him as Kylo Ren, then you're missing out. But thank you, JSA. Begsy1234. Shine is saying Bill Skarsgård is playing Charles. Ooh. Well, I don't trust my time to shine, hello. I mean, the funny thing is, my time to shine has occasionally got stuff right, but not a big fan of them. You know what? I think I really fuck with that. Bill Skarsgård as Charles Xavier. What do we think, chat? Shine broke the news of Adam Driver. I thought it was Apocalyptic Horseman. I know he corroborated it. No, I think. But Bill Skarsgård, the thing is, I could, and maybe that age gap between Bill Skarsgård and Adam Driver could still obviously work. Oh, was it a joke? I just, oh. Because I could actually see that. That's the thing. What is the age difference? Not actually massive. Bill Skarsgård's 35. Adam Driver's 42. We need to see him bald. True. Swifty, back at it again. Thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Past old lives are not updated past few months. They should be added in the Live with BobaTalks playlist. Which is on my community tab. It should be. I add each playlist into, each video into that playlist. Or if you're on my Discord server, I post the links there. If Wonder Woman isn't in Man of Tomorrow, Gunn is more nutty than people think he is. How can you not, especially with a big threat? I mean, you could say that about practically every character, right? Why doesn't every character in the DC universe, from the Flash to whoever, rise up against Brainiac? The reality is, you realistically can't do that when making a movie. But yeah, I think if you are to, okay, but Boba, what about one or two, right? Well, you got Superman and Lex Luthor and maybe one or two new characters. People were theorizing about Martian Manhunter and stuff, but yes, you would have thought that one of them would be one of the big three. Well, more than just Superman, that is. So I do understand what you're saying now. Which is why I think so many people believe that Wonder Woman's probably in it. Breakdown dropping of what, Samuel? I will be covering X-Men tomorrow. Well, I've got a lot to cover tomorrow. We've got Batman rumors. We've got various other stories and updates. We've got this now X-Men stuff. We've got some Doomsday stuff, which I might include as well. Oh, yeah. Next week's going to be busy. Like, we've got Lanterns panel, Doomsday trailer, all of that good stuff. Yeah. We all expected that anyway. We know Marvel's going to go big at San Diego Comic-Con, so... The first trailer for Avengers Doomsday is expected to be released on July 25th during San Diego Comic-Con. Saturday. Nice. Yeah, 2 hours. Yeah, I'm seeing all this pop up. We'll be doing a reaction video to that, don't you worry. Am I going to go live during Marvel's panel? I could do. That, you know what? I really enjoyed going live for the Spider-Man Brand New Day first trailer and the Dune Part 3 trailer. So we could do that. We could do that. I do enjoy the crazy... Like, sometimes when we go live for events like that, we have, like, 900 people in the chat. And it's just nuts. And you know what? I should be around. I mean, I can't guarantee it, especially with Baby Boba now. And also, actually, another thing I can't guarantee is because, obviously, time zone differences. But mind you, like, I'm talking right now. It's nearly midnight, and my daughter and my wife are asleep just down the hall, and I'm still streaming, so they're used to my voice. It depends though, if it's like 4 a.m. and I might be tired, but then again, I'm used to getting up at 4 a.m. right now with Baby Boba, so I can't promise anything, but I might go live for the Marvel panel, and it'd be pretty cool just to be live quite a bit that weekend anyway with the Lanterns panel and other things like that. And you know, also I could cannibalize the live stream and upload some of it to the channel. Daniel, thank you very much for another freaking super chat. You're rank 1, dude. Rank 1 in the stream. Thank you very, very much for the $10 there.
That ain't fucking right.
Didn't mean to do that.
Guy like me. Getting all that?
If you were in charge of the DCU, how much of a different personality should Bruce Wayne and Batman have in this universe, and how would you portray Aquaman? How much of a different personality should Bruce Wayne and Batman have in this universe? Compared to, like, Robert Pattinson's? Sounds boring because I've said this before, but what I would do is not, like, full-on playboy, in the ways that we were talking about earlier, but it would be Batman Telltale, like a very kind of confident, public, philanthropic Bruce Wayne, who you could imagine like standing up in front of people on a podium talking if he had to about some kind of, I don't know, like at some kind of charity thing or whatever. Like I can imagine that, like this Bruce Wayne being like Telltale Batman. That's kind of what I want the DC Batman to be like, at least publicly. Like Telltale Batman isn't necessarily what I would say. I mean, sure, there's certain dialogue options where he can be more playboy, but like I wouldn't describe him as a playboy Bruce Wayne. He's more of a well-rounded Bruce Wayne. And that's what I would want the DC one to be like, for sure. How would I portray Aquaman? I'd probably... I know Jason Momoa, like, defined, like, a new Aquaman, but I'd probably try and go... a bit more, like, between that and, like, a more classical... Well, not when I say classical Aquaman. I think people, when they, you know, see Alan Ritchson, funnily enough, people would like to see someone like him as Aquaman again. You know, something different from Momoa, but somebody who's like proper built like that, but also can be that kind of character that more kingly. Yeah, obviously like not the Momoa kind of drunky kind of like, you know, that last scene in the entirety of the DCEU is like, I'm Aquaman, oh, I'm King of the Seas, yahoo! And then that was goodbye DCEU. No. But you know, maybe, I don't know about Liam Hemsworth, like that'd be maybe a bit too... I see what kind of vibe you're going with there, but I feel like maybe, I mean, lots of people wanted Alan Ritchson for DC Batman, but I would be actually, funnily enough, happy with him as like an Aquaman type. I could imagine him being more of a kingly, kind of steadfast, noble, but yet kind of jokey at points if he wanted to be Aquaman. Not Momoa jokey, but like, hey, he's Aquaman, he's King of the Seas, but like, you know. It should act similar to Thor, but not as dumb. Well. How many times have you accidentally referred to her as Baby Boba in real life? I don't know if I have, Morgie, actually. You know? Maybe I've done it, but definitely not much at all. Oh, that's a good shout, Daniel. Honestly, I would borrow from Trevor Belmont from Castlevania. Now, Castlevania's one animation I have watched, and he was voiced by Richard Armitage, and I totally see what you're saying now, and I do like that vibe. Hell yeah. Swifty, back at it again with another frickin' £10 super chat. Thank you so much. I usually ignore logic/plot holes, but a thing that bothers me is the idea it's wrong to simply kill, not torture the guy who murdered her entire family in front of him. In my opinion, that's some extreme lefty BS. Wait, so who are we talking about here? Supergirl. All right. So with Ruthie. I don't know if I'd agree with that. Like, I wouldn't say, oh, look, it's a lefty kind of implementation into the Supergirl. Not really. I think, like, people on both sides of the political spectrum might understand the common sense of... I was saying common sense earlier, even though it wasn't really dove into, but hey, you probably shouldn't, as a young child, kind of fuck up quite a lot of what your life could be through gutting somebody. But I mean, I get the perspective of, well, this guy is a disgusting, sick individual, so like, would you really be missing out on anything? No, but just preserving innocence would be the concise way of putting it. I wouldn't say that's like a lefty kind of thing. It's more just it's more about Kara wanting to preserve the innocence of that girl, where her own innocence, she can almost see herself in that girl, where this is where the movie version doesn't work with what the comic, for example, compared to the comic book. Like, I guess the movie was going for, like, my innocence was kind of destroyed because of Argo, but, like, I need to preserve your innocence so you don't, like, gut this person. But, like, how are these the same? They're not really the same, like, thing. The comic book gets into things a lot more. And Kara wants to teach Ruthie a lesson indirectly about it. And the beautiful thing about the comic book is that Kara ends up being the one to almost kill Krem. But Ruthie learned the lesson and talked Kara out of it. But in the movie, they just completely, I will say, undo everything that is really kind of cool about what the comic book does. Granted, it takes place over a lot more time, and there's a lot more explored between both characters that makes that more effective as a conclusion in the comic book story. But the movie just simplifies it way too much. I do have to say that. They just really strip it down to the bare bones of can't let little girl ruin her innocence. But the comic book messaging is a lot more special because it's like going for a lot more depth. Yeah, Buster, I wasn't really ever expecting him to do the Phantom Zone or a massive time jump. But I'm even talking about how Kara was trying to preserve Ruthie's innocence in the comic and teach her that lesson. Things got really fucked up for Kara in the comic, so Ruthie actually, she had that epiphany and stopped Kara from doing it. All of that could have still been done in the movie without the Phantom Zone. basically. If you hear me there. If you've read the comic, you'll know what I mean. And this isn't just like a perspective of like, oh, but the comic book. You could still do that from the comic book. Yeah, I'm not expecting them to paste it, but like... What do you mean, Chili? People were saying that Matt Reeves logged in to his Vimeo and unarchived old videos. Nah, I think that's not... Or maybe it's been that way the entire time. I think people were just like reading into if Matt Reeves could be posting another camera test. Right. Luke, thank you very much for the $5 super chat.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, Boba. Appreciate you, man. Congrats on the baby. Thank you so much. Do you have any thoughts on a possible big bad for the DCU? I hope they adapt to the New Frontier. This is something that I've wrestled with over the years because, you know, sometimes I've been like, okay, maybe there isn't like something cooking up to a big bad. Well, you know, Gunn has said that will there be big bads? Yes. Like, you know, maybe localized to a few projects cooking up to something rather than one big overall kind of Thanos-esque threat. But Gunn has made it clear that there is an overarching story. So... I don't think you just do like a 3-movie arc and then big bad, a 3-movie arc and then big bad. If there's an overarching story, that spans from like Superman until Beyond Man of Tomorrow. Maybe that could be whatever Salvation is leading into. Obviously, like some kind of, you know, that's not going to be New Gods from what we know. It could be some kind of Dinosaur Island-y thing, even if that's... I mean, it wouldn't really still make sense because, you know, Salvation's an interdimensional place. You know, Paradise, Dinosaur Island is a primordial entity as, you know, a part of Earth. So, I don't know if they're going to do New Frontier. That has certainly been a theory for a long time. It's a good question, because I think it could be whatever the repercussions to Salvation is. And maybe that could be a center-esque kind of thing. Wouldn't surprise me. As I was getting into earlier, Buster Barnes, people, I think, very impulsive with stuff like this. Very easy to doom post. That's what I think. They're going to draw inspiration from stuff. Like, you could still argue that they could do the center or something like that, even if it wasn't a part of Earth itself. But I couldn't actually tell you, Luke, like, straight up. I'm trying to think of, like, other things, but I don't think they're going to do anything crazy like, you know, Black Lanterns right away, or... They're not going to do Darkseid. They're not going to do... I mean, you know, there are other options like Mongol, Warworld, things like that. But Brainiac, you know, in my opinion, would be a formidable threat. But we're getting him in Man of Tomorrow. So, to me, I do feel like the only thing left for me right now, unless you want to believe that somehow out of nowhere, like Vandal Savage could come along, which, you know, it's just like... X to doubt for now is so I'm like, well, one thing that has been set up that will come back is Salvation. That's where I would start looking, basically. And I think that is the DCU's kind of what Gunn might be influenced there with the noises in the woods and stuff could very well be like a Dinosaur Island Center type influence, maybe.
But I just oh.
And thank you very much, Luke, by the way. Swifty, I checked live section on YouTube, also playlist, link. Swifty, join my Discord server. But if you scroll back on my community tab, there should be a link there. But if not, I will post it there. I think it should be there, but it might have been posted a while ago. CT, thank you so much for the $10. Thank you again, guys, for being very, very generous in the stream. I really appreciate you all so much.
Thank you.
You've been going ham every freaking stream. And, like, I mean, again, today, like, we're 2 hours in and we've smashed a goal. Thank you, thank you, thank you. CT Cook 6477. I'm so tired of the Supergirl hate. 95% of people who said it was awful didn't even watch it. I'm sick of movies being killed before they even hit theaters. Supergirl wasn't bad, just needed tweaks. I mean, I completely hear you when I think these days there's a different kind of momentum that happens with movies like this, where I do, and this isn't me excusing the failings of the movie, but I do think that this has a lens of scrutiny on it that wouldn't have been this way if it was a different time or a different universe or something like that. There's plenty of movies that come out more middling than Supergirl that are received differently. Like, there's nobody's under any false pretense that the DCU isn't, you know, in this very fascinating kind of it's on the pedestal of, like, being observed by everyone, both negative or positive. Everyone's waiting to see what happens next. It's got contention surrounding it. It's got real world events surrounding it with Paramount and Warner Brothers. There's, you know, there's a lot. I don't think Supergirl is a great movie, but I definitely think it was overhated. I think, yeah, I think that the discourse online is never ever really anything, really that nuanced. It's either extremes, right? It's either you love it or you hate it. There's not really much nuance in film conversation these days, especially on social media. And most people, I will say this, are too afraid to have thoughts of their own. They echo chamber things. You know, you hear the same kind of thoughts from people who just leave some kind of Geeks and Gamers video, and, you know, that's it. That's their mind made up. And you know, I've always said this, you look at channels like that and you look at their thumbnail history, now tell me that they're not biased to ever sell you a negative video. Like, 99.8% of videos like that on channels like that have upload histories where they make their living off of more or less a similar response to everything. So I think one thing I find is that you get a lot of people being influenced by channels like that. And that doesn't mean you have to like it. You could still come here and be like, well, I don't watch a channel like that, and I still thought the movie was kind of shit. I'd be like, okay, fair play. I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of people who get bandwagoned with influences like that. Ugh. Excuse me. There was a Jurassic League animated thing happening. I wonder if that's still happening. That's a good point. Very good point indeed. But shout out to you, CT. Appreciate you, man. Masters of the Universe got a much better response. It did. But what do you mean? Swifty, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Please explain the logic of killing being always bad. How exactly it would destroy her innocence. It's the definition of fair. It's a childish story, in my opinion. I would have to disagree, right? Like, I don't think I would want my daughter at what like 9 years old to like walk up to a man, even if they're a complete, you know, filth piece of existence, and gut them with a sword. I wouldn't want her to have to do that, you know. So I think there is a self-explanatory aspect to preserving innocence there. And, you know, so also in just real society, you can have different feelings of this as well, but people go through imprisonment and things like that. So arguably, yes, even though Supergirl killed him anyway, it's I feel like it's a basic concept to understand that even if you think it's fair and, you know, you would do that to somebody, you can surely understand why you wouldn't have a kid behead someone or something like that, right? Even if it's, you know, because their whole family got taken, you would want to see them suffer in different ways, maybe. I'm not saying it's black and white, by the way. I'm really not. Because Ruthie does have, you know, her whole family killed. So I completely understand, you know, if you want to play by survival of the fittest or prehistoric times, right? You know, it would be like, well, you know, an eye for an eye. You killed my family, I'm going to gut you to pieces kind of thing. But ideally, and this is kind of hard and nuanced to talk about, but it's not really the way you go about doing things, especially as a hero. Kara, yes, she did it herself, but it would be kind of a bit backwards for her to allow somebody. I think most DC heroes, not even, you know, on the heroic side, so I'm not talking anti-heroes and stuff like that, would probably be like, I don't want you to have to do that, said 9-year-old girl or boy. I don't want you to have to go up to this person and get an axe and behead them, or get a sword and stab them. And yeah, Batman, you know, as Blazer just said or whatever, Joker could blow up a building. Now, this may be dumb, a building full of people, but he still doesn't kill the Joker. You get what I'm saying, Swifty. Like, you don't have to agree with it. Like, your moral perspective on things can be whatever, right? But, like, you can kind of maybe understand. Maybe, even if you don't agree with it. I agree with Llama Prop saying the problem is the film doesn't give an alternative. Yes. So in the comic book, Krem gets sent to the Phantom Zone for like over 100 years. And it's a very interesting ending. Now, I never thought they were going to do that in the movie, but I think there should have been some other option. Again, the beauty about the comic is that Ruthie realizes that this wasn't the right thing to do. And yeah, I think the movie kind of fumbled that quite a bit with its version. And I'm not saying, like, because Krem was a complete piece of shit. And I'm not saying he should have lived. This is where I've wrestled with the ending myself. Because when I was like, I don't know, I don't think I liked Supergirl doing, like, and killing, but then I was kind of like, just because, like, she didn't do that in the comic and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But then I was like, Krem is the way Krem is, and there is no alternative, obviously. And he is abhorrent. Again, the movie gets into how he is a complete sick individual, but it's just... yeah. For all Ruthie knows, they just let this evil man live and go on with his life, potentially causing more chaos. That is true. That is very true when you look at it that way. Yeah, that is very true. What did Kara tell? What did Kara tell Ruthie that what happened to Krem? I have no idea. I think in the comic book, Luke, the issue is, in that universe, you could just understand what the Phantom Zone is. Like, you're already in the comics, you're reading a comic, the Phantom Zone's already a thing. Even if, like, you didn't know what it was, you would just accept it. I was like, oh, he's gone in the Phantom Zone. In, like, live action, I think that would demand a bit more explanation for, like, even common viewers. It's kind of like, oh, what's this? A phantom zone? Like, that hasn't even been set up in Superman or anything like that. I guess it doesn't have to be because this Superman's already been around a while. Like, but still, you would usually set up the phantom zone a little bit. So if Krem just all of a sudden got sucked into the phantom zone, you'd be like, eh? That's a bit out of nowhere, even though it's in the comic book. But it's this hard to articulate thing for me because in the comic book, you can accept that the phantom zone's already a thing, basically, you know. You just pick up in the Supergirl story, oh, there's the Phantom Zone. But when you adapt that into a DCU thing, and yeah, that's maybe why Comet wasn't in it, the flying freaking horse. You know. In a comic book, it's like, okay, but like in the live-action DCU, it's a bit... You can understand why it's like, okay, maybe Millie Alcock wouldn't be riding like a flying horse across space. It's like some people would defend that, but I, without words, can understand it. Yeah, it could have been something they weaved in the film itself. I don't know, though. Like, I suppose of Argo Flat, but why would the Phantom Zone be in that? I guess they could have sent somebody to jail, but then it would have still been, like, to the Phantom Zone. But then it would have still been a bit convenient for Kara to be like, oh, device. You know, I took this back from Argo. You know, my dad used it for, like, people who were going a bit, like... feral when Argo was crumbling down. We can put Krem in here. Let me activate it. Beep. I guess, but it would have still been a bit like... I don't know. Sometimes, like, in comic books, it's just a lot easier for that. Oh, it's already out there, but in the movie, you kind of need to make it work. But then again, like Supergirl, that maybe would have fit with the way the movie didn't really explain things that much.
I just,
Super West, thank you very much for the 2 super chats here. So you don't think Anna Noguera,
Thank you.
after Supergirl, you're not worried for Titans, and especially Wonder Woman? I am more concerned. Yep, I've said that time and time again. Yeah, I am more concerned about Wonder Woman and Titans now, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I don't know what more to say than that. I think there was more to the sum of the parts that made Supergirl flop. I don't think it's all on Anna Noguera because there are more there's more things to the movie that let it down. But I don't think the script was really great either, so I don't know if I would trust her in the ways we've been exploring with the criticisms in this live stream. I don't think I'd worry that the same criticisms would be made about Wonder Woman or Titans. Is this before Superman or after? Because she's wearing the suit at the end of Superman. I would say it's after Superman, but she's wearing the suit at the end of Superman because I think at that point Kara had been trying to get, you know, as we saw in the Supergirl movie, she had been wearing the Supergirl suit already on Earth, saving cats out of trees and stuff like that, but it wasn't really her. So at the end of Superman, she was wearing that suit, but she wasn't really getting on with it. So that's why she decided to, like, get off Earth and get drunk again. So do you see what I mean? End of Superman cameo was Kara before Supergirl, trying to do the Supergirl thing, but it wasn't really working. Why is Ninja the thumbnail? What? Swifty back at it again with a £10 super chat. Jesus.
I just,
What's the background? time to see that. She's a teenager. Teenagers used to go to war, but that's besides the point. The message isn't that it's unscrupulous for a child. It's that it's wrong in general. Otherwise, Kara should have let her know. I mean, I think it's more to... I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think it is because she's meant to be a kid. And obviously, I'm not saying killing is always wrong with every character, is it? Because there are certainly characters out there who have done stuff like killing where you could be a lot more forgiving of it. So if it was somebody like, I don't know, God, insert character here, like, I don't know, someone from the Authority or whatever killing Krem, people would be like, okay, or whoever else. Probably a way better example out there. So I think that is the core difference there. I get what you're saying, but I think the movie is saying both things, to be honest with you, because you're saying it's wrong in general, but Kara still does it, like, outside the view of Ruthie. So it's kind of saying it's not wrong for her to do it, because she did it anyway, right? Especially to somebody who arguably deserved it because of the absolute fecked up shite that they were involved with. Yeah, I know. In the interviews, Ana Noguera stated that she thought Krem died at the end of the book. I don't, like, I've talked about this already, but I don't get that. Like, it's borderline, like, embarrassing. It is. Yeah, I've read that whole quote, and she's like, oh yeah, by the way, at the end of the book, like, Krem died. It's like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. Like, Ruthie knocks him over the head with her stick, and he gets, like, bonked. And he's, like, laying on the ground, and you see his arm like that. Ow. And then he, like, puts his arm down, and he's just laying flat on the floor. That's all. How do you write, like, this is... I don't want to be an arsehole, but it's like, how do you write the Supergirl movie? Yes, it's meant to be your kind of own version of it, like an influenced adaptation. But, you know, you want to know the source material. And you come out saying something about the ending that is the complete opposite of what actually happened, to kind of also back up your point about what you were saying at that stage in the interview. That's very... It's not a good look. I don't think it is ambiguous, by the way, Buster Barnes. I double-checked that at the time. It really isn't. Like, Ruthie told the story as though Supergirl killed people to scare the brigands. But, yeah, and Tom King has verified that Krem didn't die. And you look at it, and she just bonks him over the head. You don't put Krem of the Yellow Hills in the Phantom Zone for 100 years for you to just come out, let him out of the Phantom Zone, and then, like, hey, I'm going to kill you now. No, he just bonks him over the head. Krem doesn't die. I will... Yeah, I don't think it's ambiguous at all. Yeah, Accurate Ace kind of nailed it there as well. I'm super surprised that people thought that Krem died at the end. It would have gone against one of the thematic messages of the story. Yeah, to do the whole Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic book where Ruthie, like, stops herself from killing Krem and even stops Kara from killing Krem, to then just 100 years later, Ruthie bashes him and murders him by bashing him over the head with her stick. You'd just be like, what? So I just read that whole comic book with that, and, you know, emotional ending for her to just 100 years later. It's just, no. She literally just knocks him out. Or, like, they let him out the Phantom Zone, and he's, like, really sorry. And she gets a wooden stick and goes... And he's like, ow. That's about it. But yeah, you nailed it there. Something like that. I think in the Phantom Zone, like, it took a very long time for Krem to, like, come to terms with what he'd done. But he kind of, like, almost went insane.
But I just,
like, I think finally the penny dropped. And then he kind of, like, had his own internal torture over what he had done. Understandably, if you committed genocide and everything like that across multiple planets and everything, at some point across the decades, maybe it would click. And then, yeah. No, he doesn't die. In the comic book, Krem doesn't die. He gets sent to the Phantom Zone for a long time. And, yeah. Swifty, again! Thank you for another super chat. She will grow up soon. What if she thinks, sucks Krem gets to live, but her family doesn't? Kara even says, walk away before you change your mind. Woke. Laugh my ass off. No, I mean, look, I have to agree to disagree here, because I wouldn't view that as like a get woke, go broke kind of thing. No. I see the train of thought you're in, but this isn't one of those woke moments. It really isn't. I totally hear what you're saying. I was just gonna grow up and, like, you know, like, fuck, like, this guy gets to live and my family doesn't. Fuck this guy. I want to kill him. Like, blah, blah, blah. I just think you're having a bit of a disconnect with, like, the basic kind of, hey, you know, in our world, like, and I think they're trying to reflect some, like, morals of that. You wouldn't have an 11-year-old, a 12, 13-year-old even, go up to somebody and, like, even if that person killed their family, even though some people would say, yeah, I'd let them do this, most people would be like, I just don't think it's right that they would gut that person. That person still needs to be royally fecked in the A in all ways imaginable and imprisoned and sent to a cell with no windows for all eternity. But, like, most people would be like, yeah, it's kind of a bit fucked up if they did that. Now, obviously, you know, in a lawless land in medieval times, or prehistoric times or whatever, people just would have, you know, done what they needed to do. But I think, obviously, they're just trying to, like, do something like that, and that doesn't make it woke. It just means, you know, it's not really the way... I think Kara knows it's probably not the way it should be handled, but she's got to do it anyway because she doesn't need to preserve her innocence, but she wants to preserve Ruthie's. But I do agree that it wasn't explored enough, like, to make that feel earned. Like, why does Kara's innocence need to be explored? Again, like, why was that? I get her innocence, rather, was broken a bit with Argo, but the movie was kind of making it seem like her innocence was broken beyond that. Like, she sees the truth in people. Why? She hasn't had any bad experiences with people. Like, Superman sees the good, what, she sees the truth? What is that? Like, what happened? What gave her that ability? What life experience, you know, again, doesn't really make sense. It is getting hot in here. Buster Barnes, I agree with that. I think this is where there was a bit of, like, maybe miscalculation with Craig Gillespie. I think Gunn and Safran thought, oh, Craig Gillespie, Cruella, I, Tonya. But as Buster Barnes says, so, you know, it's crazy that Gillespie pitched his vision before looking at the comic. Guess that's why the aesthetic is so different. Not sure why it was accepted. That's the thing where I think, you know, in addition to the script, Supergirl in a pre-production level development phase fucked up. If you're basically adapting Women of Tomorrow, yes, it's an adaptation. It's not gonna do everything. if you don't look at the comic and you're just like, okay, we're going to do our own space and our own kind of space pirates, you are going to have this uncanny valley kind of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. It's not an adaptation. It's kind of like something else where it's a bit more bland. It's like, wait, what? How could you, you know? And that's where it's like, well, Supergirl had every right to have like a lot better visuals than what it did have. Like, even if the story was still middling, like it could have gone a lot more out there of those things. So yeah. I see the truth in people. Meanwhile, she gets tricked by the family and gets poisoned. Whoopsie. Superman sees the good in people. Kara sees the... She doesn't see the truth. She gets deceived. This is very true. Yeah, I mean, I will still say that. I've said that even when the main trailer came out and it looked better than the first teaser. I was like, okay, it looks better. But, like, I thought some of the production design was good. Like, I think the practical effects on the characters were really good as well. But the blandness and the sameness of a lot of it, this is what I heard in the first test screening that came out. It does mostly look like that junkyard planet. And that was true. You have, like, the transport ship. You have the junkyard kind of planet. You have, like, the the green sun, yellow sun planet. But everything else, I guess, other than the space pirate battle, was, like, junkyardy planet vibes. There was that one planet in the sky where there was that bar, but the aesthetic in that bar was very similar to what was going on elsewhere, so... yeah.
I just, oh.
Oh. Thank you very much, Swifty. Thank you for another super chat.
Thank you.
Adored Melissa's Supergirl for being super kind. No lie, it changed me. But they took it too far in this movie, in my opinion. By the way, I'm only half serious by saying woke. Fair enough. See, it's interesting you saying that about the CW Supergirl, where if you're more of the stance of like saying, even if it's half seriously, like woke, surely like Melissa Benoist's CW Supergirl was way more political than the DCUs, but hey, yeah, I was gonna say it's like the, yeah, as Buster Barnes is saying there. Quit making stuff political. I disagree, man. Like to an extent, everything is political, especially artistic stuff. Yeah, I bet your favorite movie gets political. Right, guys, I think I'm going to end the stream in a second. Just because we've been going for 2.5 hours and it is almost 30 degrees here. So I am struggling. But we will be streaming again this week. Do not worry about that. Maybe Wednesday, actually. No, there will be a video up tomorrow, so probably Wednesday I'll be uploading. It depends if there's anything crazy happening. Go get some sleep. I might be able to tonight. I mean, I don't want to jinx it. But I went, I went upstairs when I grabbed the Pepsi and I saw my wife and baby asleep, so hopefully I'll be able to sneak in, tiptoe my way in. Otherwise I'll be in trouble if I hear a little whee, whee. Baby Boba will get me in trouble. You watching England, Boba? I did. I watched the game the other night, and then we've got another one Wednesday? No, when is it? The next World Cup England game. Chili Dolph says, so £2 super chats get ignored now. That was so bluntly said. That was so confrontational, Chili Dolph. I must have missed it. I completely missed that. Sorry, dude. No, wait, I've missed more. There's two. There's two £2 super chats. I have no idea how I even missed those. Genuinely. Thank you very much, Chili. I'm only joking, by the way, when I was like, so confrontational. Like, you know me, I wouldn't ignore them. They just didn't pop up for me on my screen. I have no idea why. But appreciate you, man. Thank you for the £2 super chat. Batman dummy for Baby Boba. Do you think England will win Wednesday? Oh, I probably not know, but I would love for them to. I'm not really an expert with football, but everything I know tells me that's not going to happen. But it would be pretty sick if they did. It's happened before. Chili, appreciate you, bro. As always, man.
Thank you.
And then after Chili, we have Super West. Thank you so much for your £2 super chat. And now I need to scroll up because I'm double checking if I've missed any others. Those are the only two I missed by the looks of it. No idea why. Super West, thank you very much. Is it crazy there are 5 Batman animation shows? Oh, it's crazy that there's 5 animation shows and a movie. So the Batman, Cape Crusader, what, Nightfall? Or wait, are we talking like in general, like currently? Because there's not 5 currently, right? Oh, you're talking about in general compared to maybe other characters like Wonder Woman and whatnot. Red card for missing a super chat. I'm sorry. Honestly, I swear to God, like, I swear I did not see them pop up. I do not skip. I don't think I've ever genuinely skipped a super chat on any live stream. Or ended a live stream without answering every single one. There was one time, and I still remember it, and it was Calerion's. And I can't remember why that was, but I answered it in the next stream. I don't know if my stream crashed or I ended it and then it got sent in as it was about to end, maybe? And I'd already said goodbye? I don't know. So, yeah. Yeah, Super West. Do you mean in general compared to other characters? Because I think Wonder Woman fans would agree with you there. Absolutely. Oh, they just got announced? Oh, like the Absolute Batman series as well? Yeah. Shout out to you, Super West. Thank you.
Guy like me. Getting all that?
Oh, and Swifty is back at it again. Jesus. Thank you so much. No big spenders today, so I'm 1. Wait, you're rank 1? Are you? I mean, to be fair, you have been sending them in for quite a while now. Like, why can't I bring up the leaderboard? My leaderboard's just blank on my page. Let me refresh my page. Top. I think mine's broken. That is very strange. But yeah, apparently you're rank 1. Yeah, I love the CW Supergirl woke silliness, even though I hate woke. I'm a contradiction. Thank you for letting me ramble as always. You never cease to make me laugh, Swifty, and I mean that in a good way. I love CW's Supergirl wokeness, even though I hate woke. I'm a contradiction. That's brilliant. Thank you for supporting the stream as always, Swifty, by the way. Thank you.
That ain't fucking right.
Didn't mean to do that.
Guy like me. Getting all that?
Did you see me explain my politics comment? I enjoy movies having political commentary, but I don't think audiences shouldn't force political discussion about political movie decisions. I don't think audiences should force political discussion about non-political movie decisions. I don't know if I'm absorbing that right. Maybe because my brain is slow. You enjoy political commentary, but you don't think audiences shouldn't force? Maybe it's the wording. I don't know. Sometimes I get slow like this on streams, 2.5 hours in. Right, guys, I am going to end it there. I would stay on for longer, but genuinely, I think it is just getting a bit too hot in here. So hopefully Wednesday things will cool down a bit more, and we'll be back for even more. Wednesday should. Oh, okay. But to be fair, we've been going live. We've been live for 2 hours 40 minutes. We've maintained a good 100 or so people here. Swifty, last super chat of the stream. Thank you so much for supporting as much as you have. Silliness might be harsh. I'd say charming. I hear what you're saying. I never made it past season 1 or 2 of Supergirl, unfortunately. But I know it had quite a fan base behind it. Superman and Lois all the way, though. Superman and motherfucking Lois. Goated series of the CW. Anyway, guys, new video tomorrow. We're talking about the Batman Poison Ivy rumors, the Poison Ivy series, frickin' X-Men, all of that good stuff, and some other bonus DC stories that I've written down on my little notes page. How dare you, Buster Barnes? You wanted me to carry on the live stream, start rambling, I swear to God. I'm coming for you, Buster Barnes. I'm coming after you for that. Superman and Lois overrated, how dare you? I can't tell if you're taunting me there. Anyway, guys, Clearion, take care, dude. Thank you for joining. As always, Clearion, always supporting, man. Really love seeing you here pretty much every stream. Begsy, I swear to God, like, you guys are starting to trigger me now. I'm going to be here, like, defending Superman and Lois. All right, I'm out. Thank you all. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Love all of you. Thank you for the support. And I will see you in tomorrow's video and Wednesday's stream. Goodbye.